We have three main program areas. The first program area, which is the oldest and most developed, is our street outreach program. Part of that is a harm reduction philosophy. So harm reduction states that people should be as safe and as cared for wherever they are in their situations.
Street outreach for Praxus, we take a bunch of supplies, food, snacks, water, and we put it in a backpack and walk around to places where youth hang out and basically meet youth where they're at on the streets. This is a great way of helping youth feel like they're in control because they're not coming to a place where someone else is kind of holding power in that space. Like, this is the space, these are the places where they hang out every day, the places where they're used to being. And so we meet them in those places, basically check in with them to make sure that their basic survival needs are met. So they have something to eat and they have something to drink, they have a place to stay. Then basically get to know them and build relationships. What needs feel most important to them at the time, what things they're struggling with the most, and work with them to help find ways to get those needs met.
The second program that we have is our community organizing program, and it's a Know Your Rights campaign. And that was actually led by Stephanie Bell and other students that were placed at Praxus. And what they did is they went out and they interviewed youth about what their most pressing concerns were. And through that work, we identified areas where youth wanted to know what their rights were legally. So we have initiated work around educating youth about what their basic civil and human rights are, so that they are able to address that and act accordingly on their own behalf. The goal for that program is to be youth-led, so youth supporting one another and keeping themselves safe, advocating for themselves with our support. And the third large program that we have is our community education program. And with the community education, that's about awareness. Most people are really not aware of what domestic human trafficking is or what it looks like. And that goes for your average person off the street, and that also goes for service providers and even law enforcement. So that is our attempt to do community education work regarding human trafficking. Also, another really important piece that's outside of those three main program areas is being able to work collaboratively with other organizations and with other people to build that kind of community network and that base of community support. That's really an integral part of the work that we do, because if we can't do that work where things intersect, we're not addressing domestic human trafficking in all of its many forms and facets.
The fewer opportunities that a person has to meet their survival needs on their own, the more likely they will end up in a human trafficking situation to get those needs met. So all of the systems of oppression that exist in our society, such as racism, classism, sexism, heterosexism and homophobia, transphobia, ageism, and ableism, are all root causes of human trafficking. And when we let 1,200 youth sleep on the streets of Denver tonight, and because we don't address their needs for, housing or employment, or when we excuse violence against certain people because we don't, like something about them or we don't believe, something about them, those are the conditions that we are creating in which human trafficking thrives. Really, at its most basic level, human trafficking is about believing that some people are less than human, that some people do not deserve to benefit from their labor, that some people do not deserve to be who they are, and that some people, mere existence is for our pleasure or our profit.
There is often a dichotomy that is made between here is the victim of human trafficking and here we are as the savior of somebody who's being trafficked. And so what we need to do is we need to swoop in and save people from these situations without really understanding, first of all, the real humanness of the person that we're discussing, and second of all, that it doesn't work that way and it's a lot more complex than that. So part of the work of addressing the root causes of human trafficking is understanding how oppression intersects with that. So for us, collaborative work with organizations that work for the rights of immigrants, that work for the rights of lesbian, bisexual, gay, queer folks, that works for the rights of transgender folks, workers' rights, women's rights, all of those different human rights. Like, when we work collaboratively with those organizations and we support those, we are addressing the root causes of human trafficking. People really conceive of human trafficking as something that occurs in India, in Thailand. I mean, like, they have very specific places that they think of human trafficking as occurring. They do not necessarily relate, one, what the involvement of the United States is in terms of supporting international human trafficking and the role in that. And two, people do not understand that human trafficking exists and is very much alive and well here in the United States and is generally unaddressed.
Through our trainings and through our direct work with youth, we're really trying to build a new paradigm where youth have choices. They have choices, and we know that they are the ones who are able to, know what is best for their lives. We respect them as the experts on their own lives and as the people who are most able to transform their communities. And really, like, a lot of our prevention work is just really walking with youth on their journey, whatever that looks like, and working with them unconditionally, loving them unconditionally, and just believing that whatever they are doing is best for themselves and they're doing what they can to survive at the moment.